Hello, everybody. So it's a little different from our normal hangouts because you guys are in the chat and not like talking with me. So it's just gonna be me talking for an hour. Feel free to make use of the text chat. Chime in. I just want to make sure that it's all working. Can you guys hear me, see me? Hi, hello. Who's here? There we go. Okay, great. Hooray! Cool. So I'm just going to dive in. If, like I said in the chat thingy, if you guys come up with extra questions, just jot them in there. I will go through that. There's kind of a lot, so enjoy me rambling for an hour. I am going to do, hi guys. I'm going to do the like get to know you questions really fast first because I had a couple of these. The first one is, which animal do you love the most? And no, I love them all. They're all dumb and cute. What's your favorite color? Green. What's your favorite number? 2, because it's the only even prime number, and I think that's neat. My favorite food is macaroni and cheese from the box. I am not cultured. From the Stouffer's box, so like the frozen kind. And my least favorite food, I don't think I have one. Maybe something like slimy. I don't like slimy. Cool. So now going into like acting stuff, unless anybody has, nope. How I moved to LA and the story of how I got into SAG. So first of all, I think most of you know this. I am and was a history major. No, I like Brussels sprouts, Sean. I was a history major, so that's not an actor. But I did musical theater growing up. I sang. I don't really dance. So I always knew that I wanted to be an actor. I just thought that a history major would be a practical alternative. Hey, Charles. It wasn't. It's not a practical anything. It's a weird major. I loved it, but it's it's not applicable to very much. But once I finished college, I knew that I wanted to be an actor, so I told my boyfriend at the time, I'm moving to LA, you can come or you can stay. And he was like, well, okay, I'll go with you. So we both moved out here. I didn't know anybody else. We were together for a couple years after that, and then we broke up. And yeah, so that's how I moved to LA. I think that's it. It was just like a steamrolled decision. I just decided. I told my mother I'm going. It was like 2 months after graduation, and I was also young. I graduated early twice. So my mom was like, what? You're leaving? She chased after me with gloves. Second half of this is the story of how I got into SAG, which is, again, me steamrolling over somebody. There are a couple of ways that you can get into SAG. The one that most people do now is they make something and kind of attach a SAG actor and then get themselves into SAG that way. That's totally valid. But before people were really doing that, you could do it by booking a national commercial, because that would make you SAG. There's also, what else? If you booked like a TV show, you would also have to join SAG, or be SAG eligible. And then you could work as an extra. So booking a national commercial is very hard, as I think everybody here is familiar with, because it's something that I've done twice and it's hard. Booking a TV show when you're not SAG is nearly impossible because you don't have representation submitting you for those jobs. So that's really hard. But the background can be easier, kind of. Obviously, there's a lot of competition to get those vouchers. You have to get 3. You have to work as a SAG paid background actor 3 times. I knew a first AD, so that's the first assistant director, and they're in charge of that stuff. So I knew somebody. he got me 2. And I could not get that 3rd one. So I was working background, which is not a fun job. You're there a long time, and usually people either ignore you or like don't treat you super well. Sometimes people are great. But it's not a fun job. You're literally just sitting around. So I did that for, I think, 3 or 4 months before I was like, this sucks. I went to too much school for this nonsense. And I stopped doing it. And then I got a call from some background agency, like people who put this stuff together. And they said, hey, Tim Burton's movie wants you. And I was like, okay, no, unless I get that SAG voucher. And I said this to the guy on the phone, and he laughed at me because you're not supposed to, like, it's kind of an unwritten rule. You don't ask for it. It just either happens or doesn't happen. Because they can get, productions can get fined for hiring non-union actors on SAG contracts if they haven't filled a certain quota. I didn't care. So I said, I'm not doing it unless I get the SAG vouchers. So he laughed at me, said, hold on. He went to his boss and he told his boss what I said. And the boss came on and was like, are you going to pay the fine if we get fined? And I said, sure. I don't care. I'm not doing this for any other reason. And he said, okay. And that's how I got my 3rd SAG voucher. And then immediately after that, I booked a job. So I booked a SAG job that would have made me eligible anyway. Go figure. And then what happens from that point is you work as much as you can on non-union projects, because when you book, I think it's 3. When you book 3 SAG projects, you become a must join. And then the next SAG thing you book, you have to join. So you worked a lot, like you would work as many non-union commercials and as many non-union whatevers as you could until you hit that, oh no, now I have to join. At the time when I was joining, they were still like checking for new media stuff. Now they don't care. So a lot of must join people were like, I can't, or people who were near must join status were like, I can't work with you on Classic Alice or these other SAG productions that you run, because then they would make me join. And I was like, that sucks. Now they don't care. So that's the story of how I got into SAG. What is the most rewarding project you've ever done? I think Classic Alice has to be it, because I think that's how I found most of you. I don't know how. Put in the thingy how you guys found me, because I don't know how everybody found me. I assume most people were Classic Alice. What Tim Burton film did you do? It was Alice in Wonderland. He didn't want to be there. It was reshoots for Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, everybody's Classic Alice high school. That's a different show. Before Classic Alice, I had done some work on a Hulu show, like early Hulu days, called Best Laid Plans, and it was all improv. So there was no script. It was really, really early web stuff, and that was great. It didn't quite take off the way that I think they had hoped, because Hulu did this weird thing where like everybody was talking about it, and then it kind of went away, and it didn't know what it was. And then I think it started becoming the dumping place for network shows. So the first thing I booked was a Hulu show. So I've been in this web world forever. And that was really rewarding, to circle back to this question. That was really rewarding because the performances were just all so like real and simple, and it was an actor's medium. The cameras were there for us. We weren't paying attention. It was great. It was more like theater than film. But Classic Alice, I think, has gotten me more attention. I've gotten meetings. I've, gotten into rooms and blah 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 blah. And meeting fans of Classic Alice is very different. Like, I mean, I didn't really have like a fan base before that, and meeting people who liked the show so much that they like cry when they meet me, it's weird and great and confusing. And one time I bumped into someone like in my neighborhood. He was like, "Are you? Oh my gosh, I love Classic Alice." And I did not react well. I think I snapped. I was kind of like, "Yes, what? Cool, thanks." Like, I just did not know how to react. So I'm fine if I'm prepared. But that poor guy, I hope I hope he didn't hate me. What kind of roles will you absolutely not do? I don't. Shut up, Lothar. Surprise visit from Lothar. I don't think there's anything that I like hardcore wouldn't do. Can you guys think of any? What would I not do? I don't mind sex scenes. I don't mind characters who are yeah, roles that don't pay. That's a good point. I don't do, unless it's for a really good friend who either has done favors for me or like I know this is gonna go somewhere, like I can see it. And I have a pretty good sense of that because I've made things that go places. So in that case, I will do things for free, but I will not work for strangers that people I'm not super familiar with. I won't work for them for free anymore. That's a decision that every actor kind of has to come to and make. It's tough because there's a lot of non-paying stuff out there, and it's nice to get in front of a camera, and you always want to act. Actors want to act, but roles that don't pay. That's good. Thank you, Ed. I would have circled that drain for a while. But everything else, I'm kind of, it depends on the script. I won't do. Oh, I know my other red flag. I won't do things that are poorly written. I don't mind, a little clunky. Like if something just feels a little weird, maybe we could tweak it, whatever. But things that are grammatically incorrect or not punctuated right or that kind of stuff, I will, because it's usually a sign that production either is not ready. Everybody makes mistakes in scripts, but by the time your actors are reading them, it should be pretty flawless. So production's either not ready or or it's going to be a nightmare to shoot because they're going to be so disorganized. I probably would have taken Star Wars even if that writing is so bad. Okay, what is your ideal role? What genre, character arc, stuff like that? So this changes all the time, right? Because I don't want to get stuck doing. Oh, there more. He's giving me the happiest face, you guys. I don't want to get stuck doing one type or one part. So usually it bounces back and forth. So if I have just done a drama, I really want to do comedy. If I've just done a comedy, I really want to do a drama. I will always want to play Walter White or Tony Soprano because they're so different from like I would never, no one would be like, that's going to be. But I think that they are fascinating characters and they're so interesting. I actually just shot a horror movie, like a super short horror movie, Sean, in October. I don't know. This is not my, like, I didn't produce it, so I have no anything with it. If somebody else is editing it, I have nothing to do with it at this point. I did my job and then left, and it was lovely. So I hope it turns out cool. We'll find out. As far as like what character arc I would like to play, I would love to play someone like really dark, someone who goes to bad places. I think that is a tall order. That might be something I have to write myself because my face is not like she's going to do something terrible. So I may have to force it, which is what I do, you guys. What's the biggest change in the industry from when I first moved out here and got my SAG card to now? Well, first it took me, I think, a year or two to get my SAG card. But the biggest change in the, oh God, I don't know, industry from the beginning. Right now, it feels like people are listening. Sorry, the cat is in my lap and like real happy, so he's doing this with his gloves. I think women are getting a little bit more of a voice right now. I don't know how lasting that will be. I don't know if that's a change or if that's a like, you know, placating pat on the head kind of moment that we're having. I hope it's the former. I don't know. But as far, I think it's too small. It's too, I've been here a while, but it's still too small of a thing to see. Commercials have dried up. That's been pretty, I was thinking like what good things have happened. Here are the bad things. Commercials have dried up for SAG actors, which is awful. And, so the way that we make our money has to change. And I think, thankfully, I am a little bit ahead of that curve. So before 2014, I was booking a commercial a year. Some of them were national, and that would, help propel me into the next year. Some of them were smaller, but it's still, enough to coast through the dry tutoring months. When those went away, that was nerve-wracking because that was really like how you kind of stay in the town. Some people didn't get hit with this until now. Like I have one friend who was still booking last year, and now it's finally starting to catch up to him. But and then Brent Bailey still works all the time. Fucking Brent Bailey. He was a guy in Emma Approved. So some of you guys know who he is. Voiceover has definitely popped up more. I've been getting more of those. So with that, but I was saying I feel like I'm a little bit ahead of the curve because of Patreon and you guys and that setup where I can depend on that to kind of fill that gap that commercials have left. And I was so stressed about the commercial stuff the last 2 years. And my agent is like, don't worry about it. You're fine. Everything's fine. Like not the industry is fine. She's kind of like, you don't need to do anything. You are fine. But sorry, like I'm like reading and talking and it's very hard. But I think I worried so much about it last year. I think I have to just like let it go and trust that Patreon will continue to fill that gap for me. And I don't need to bust my ass commercially to the expense of, doing the other work. I didn't move here to be in commercials. It's a nice way to like pad things and make sure that I can keep doing stuff, but that's not why I came here. So if that goes away, it shouldn't like rock my soul in any way. Are there any risks professionally you wish you would have taken? I like this question a lot. But it's also like, what do you regret is kind of the thing. So I don't think at this point there are any, I haven't turned things down because, they were too risque or too much, I haven't done that. I'm also, you guys know, me. I'm pretty direct. And so I will take a risk. It'll be a calculated risk, but I will take it. Someday, I think I'll be able to have a better answer to this question, but I don't know that I have a whole lot right now. You guys can, if you think of something, maybe one of you knows, but I haven't like turned something down. I've done things where I regret, I haven't prepared for an audition as much as I really should have. And then I watched that go to someone else and that bummed me out. I've also had experiences in class where I watch other people do scenes that I've prepared. And I'm like, well, why didn't I think of that? And that's a little dangerous because I have thought of things that they didn't think of. Of course, like that's just how people work. So I try not to go down that road, but of course it happens. I've also watched actresses. I this week in class, I watched a girl just do something that I was like, wow, how cool! Like what an interesting instinct that she didn't clamp down on. So watching that was cool. That's a different question. How has the industry's attitude shifted regarding women as actors, writers, producers since you first started? I think this is kind of like that other question, just a little bit more specific with women. I think it's still kind of shitty. It's, we're louder about the shittiness, but it's still there. The people who are getting hired still are dudes. There are efforts, like that people are trying a little bit more, but it's going to take a longer time for that pendulum to swing the other way and then come to like a more equal place. Boop. I can't believe they're still playing that commercial with Brent and Joe. Like that's such an old commercial. They must be rolling in it. What struggles or hurdles have you encountered working on and getting projects off the ground, specifically because of your gender? I have to watch my tone more than I think my male counterparts do. I can't, I can, but people don't like it. Being as direct as my instinct is to be really just like blip, 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 I have to make sure that my emails read a certain way. I have to think about how can I make this thing happen that I want to have happen, and everybody's ego does not get bumped because they have someone telling them what to do, and that someone is a lady person. I don't think anybody has specifically like said, no, you're a girl, shut up, sit down. But you do have to be a little bit louder and a little bit scrappier than everybody else. You have to not just be in the right place in the right time, but also create the right place in the right time. And I don't know that men have to do that quite so much. What national commercials have I done? Oh gosh. I have done Verizon. I have done Samsung, a lot of tech stuff. Charter Cable, which is like a cable company. What else have I done? A tooth whitening commercial. I feel like there's more, but I don't remember because we don't list them. We don't. And then after your contract, they run it, if they don't renew, you don't get any more money from it. So I just like out of my head. I love the Verizon commercial too. They finally took it down. It was up for so long, illegally, but I did get paid, so it's fine. What advice would you give to other women who want to pursue a career in this business? Gosh. Know your worth and don't hedge on it. Have you used the tooth whitening stuff? No, I have not. They did give it to me, but I did not use it because they digitally enhance anyway, so there was no reason to. How can you protect yourself from being taken advantage of? I'm going to answer this as an actor first. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about other stuff. Sorry, my agent just emailed me. Oh, what a cool thing to have happen in the middle of this Q&A. So as an actor, things that you can watch out for: crappy scripts, so bad writing, poor grammar. If it doesn't read like naturally, something's off. That's my dog stretching. You can kind of see her. You want to look for any weirdly overtly sexual for no reason kind of moments. Like I had one script. Oh man, I kept this for so long, but it was on a different computer and I don't know where it is now because it made me laugh and laugh and laugh. But I kept this one script that was just trash. It was so bad. It was basically a porn but without being porn. And the premise was like this fairy was being held hostage by her evil stepdad who was definitely raping her. Like it was awful. And they were touting it as this real movie. It was so bad and it was so badly written. And I showed it to everybody that I knew because it was so funny / terrible. So look out for shit like that. Then the other things that you want to kind of keep in mind, I don't know other cities, but in LA, it was like Q movie material, Ben. It was awful. In LA, you don't want to go to certain casting facilities. Like I will never go to an audition at Cats, not because they're dangerous, but just because the projects tend to be garbage. That's just one of the like casting facilities. It's just a bunch of little shitty rooms where you go in and read. You want to make sure that production is paying for some space. You never go to somebody's house. You never go to somebody's apartment. You could go, like if they have an office, like if somebody works an office job and it's a really low budget thing, that's okay. But it should be a public space. You never go, auditions are pretty much done by like 8 p.m. You never really go later than that. Having an audition on the weekend is usually a little bit weird and kind of my spidey sense tingles. If anything else is also wrong, I don't go to those. If that's the only thing, I might still go. Like if it's still a paying project and the script is good and, you know, I'm comfortable and everything, I'll still go to those. But it is a little bit strange to have auditions on the weekend here. It does happen once in a while, sometimes commercials even, but it's odd. What are my other red flags? I think those are my big ones. And I usually, if the script is bad, that's pretty much a hard no. But if like 2 out of 3 are problematic, I will skip it. If there's like one, I'll see if I still want to go. I also have a tendency, this is not a flattering trait. I will talk myself in and out and in and out because actors are so lazy. I can get so lazy. I'm like, I don't want to do the work. So I can talk myself in and out of auditions. Not ones that my reps get me. Those I take care of. But the ones I find myself, I'm kind of like, I should be beyond this. Then how do you protect yourself as a producer or a creator? Copyright your shit. The WGA does not protect your work. So if you're a writer and you write a script, you register it with the WGA, that's nice. It means nothing. Someone can still steal your work. Someone can steal your work no matter what you do. And someone probably will steal your work no matter what you do. But I'm going to grab this question before it floats away, although I don't think it will. But that's something that you can do to protect yourself is actually go send it to the copyright office and actually get it really copyrighted. I think it's $35. It's nothing. I did it for Classic Alice both times. I've done it for everything. You also have to know who you're talking to. Like at some point, your idea will get stolen because ideas cannot be copyrighted. It's going to happen. Try as much as you can to not let it happen, but also know that not telling anyone your ideas isn't going to get you anywhere. So I think you just have to okay. As a producer or creator, read everything. Make people sign shit. I am obnoxious about contracts and being very clear about just everything. I don't work with people if we don't have a written agreement because things sour and it's too easy for people to hose you. But if you have a piece of paper that says, okay, well, we foresaw, something like this happening, here's what we agreed upon, hopefully it goes a little bit smoother. So write everything down and then look out for yourself, as a producer and a creator. Don't nobody else is doing it for you. You are the boss. You have to make sure that you are aware of what's going on your sets and in your posts and everywhere else, but you also have to take care of yourself and make sure that you are cool. Yeah. Can you talk about body shaming in the industry and how is it different from men and women? So I will say, when I moved here, I was terrified that someone was going to be like, you, in order to be anybody, you have to be, 0 pounds. I really was worried that that would be something that came up, that I would be told to lose weight at some point, whatever. It has never, ever, ever happened. Part of that, I think, is because my type is not bombshell girl, so I can be a little less perfect. But I don't know that it's as rampant, or maybe it is. But my experience is that it has not happened to me yet. Yay. There is pressure, though, to be very, slim and hot and attractive. And I think for guys, there's pressure to be muscular, or whatever your type is. Like if you're jock boy, you got to be jock boy. If you're nerdy UCB guy, you can be a little skinnier. It's great for me right now. I don't know that I've had, well, I guess I've had agents and managers at this point, but I don't know that I've had a rep that's like that involved yet. I would love to have a rep that's involved enough to tell me to get a different haircut, maybe, but not weight. How do you join the WGA? I'm going to answer that in a minute, because it's complicated. All right, what are some red flags? Oh, I already answered that. I have no concept of what you were doing before. That is my dryer. What you're doing before Classic Alice. So before Classic Alice, first, I was just an actor. And so I was auditioning and working on other people's things and trying to get as much experience and building reels and blah, 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 blah. Oh, sorry, Kay. What did I do? So I think a friend of mine, I can't remember when this was. I think it was after I auditioned. I don't remember when this was. But I wanted to try making something because I wasn't getting work, so why not? I don't remember why. I thought I really should have a better version of this story. So I made this short Funny or Die sketch trying to convince kids to do drugs. And Kyle Walters was in it, and Clay, what is his last name? He's in the Shipwrecked People stuff now. Clay Ferris, something. I think we knew each other through UCB. He's in it. I just saw him. I should know his last name. He was in it, and then a couple of other people were in it. And it hit the front page of Funny or Die, and it was great. I got an agent, I got a manager. It really, that at that time, getting on the front page of Funny or Die was a really big deal. Now it's you can't get there unless you're part of Adam McKay and Will Ferrell's little group. So I did that, and that went really well, and I was like, great. And then I booked a national at that point. And I was like, I'm going to use some of this money to shoot something else. And we made Kate and Joe. And I knew Joe from improv stuff. So we made Kate and Joe Just Want to Have Sex. And that was really fun. And I was like, I really enjoyed this. I can do this. I know what I'm doing. So I thought, why don't I try? Oh, and then Classic Alice was actually, a friend of mine was like, we want to start a YouTube channel recommending books to kids. And I was like, great, what if it's a narrative story? Because I don't want to just, host something. So I wrote a pilot that was actually not the direct to camera locked off shot stuff. It was not a vlog. It was like a, you know, mockumentary kind of feel. It was very community-esque. And they were like, this sounds expensive. And I was like, okay, I'll, rewrite it with the vlog thing in mind. And I did. And then they didn't go anywhere with it. So I made it myself. And that was Classic Alice. Cool. What is being on set actually like? Very boring. Very boring. So for the most of it, you're just like standing around waiting for people to figure stuff out, and then standing in front of the camera waiting for people to figure stuff out, and then saying a couple of words, and then somebody messes up and you have to say those words again, and then somebody does it and you say it again. So it's a lot of like, you have to know what you're doing before you get on camera. Like nobody's coddling the act. I'm sure on movie star sets, people like, oh, are you okay? But nobody's really coddling the actors because it's not the actor's medium. It's the camera's medium. It's the director's. So they are dealing with their stuff, and you're expected to just perform and be camera ready and go. So it's very boring. There's always food though, so that's nice. You can't leave. You're there. Like, you can't take a lunch elsewhere. You don't get to leave. I don't know. I feel like I need more specific questions about this because it is, it's a big question. So ask more specific questions about what sets like, because I don't know what's interesting other than it's boring. How did you choose the books? I feel like I've answered this somewhere. I chose the books. I think it was a process, like it was part of the outline. Like, I would brainstorm what books I liked and then see if they worked. And by worked, I mean they needed a protagonist that actually takes a specific action and then things can't just magically happen to them. Things cannot just happen to the protagonist, or else it wouldn't really fit. It wouldn't fit that like weird arc that we put over everything. They also had to be in the public domain. So classic literature was all we could do. They had, and I think they had to be different enough. Like, we couldn't do the same type of story over and over again. We couldn't do 12 Jane Austens because she's, it's just, I'm dealing with the same character instead of a new cast every time. I think that's how I did it. It's been a long time since I've answered Classic Alice questions. How did you choose Sunny Gables? I did not even know that was the name of it. Sunny Gables is the location for season 2. So that location, season 2, if you guys remember, there were a lot of like fancy ass rooms, and we shot pretty much everything except the outside stuff in this one location with like 8 billion rooms. That location happens to also be the location for, I don't even know how many things. Muzzled the musical, just everything that Kim Brunner has worked on for a while. She's a production designer. It was the Shipwrecked people used it for something. It was used at least 3 times. Poe Party, that was the other big one. So it was like this location that we all wound up using. I'm pretty sure it was semi-independent. I had nothing to do with either of those productions. I guess Mary Kate was in both, so maybe she knew about it. But I found it on like Airbnb or Peerspace or something. It was in our budget. This is really what it boils down to for all 3 of us. It was our budget. It was in our budget. And it had a shit ton of rooms. So we wouldn't have to move production, because moving production is expensive, time consuming, and a pain in the ass. So there was actually, we had, if you notice, Andrew doesn't have a home in season 2. Andrew does not have a bedroom. Andrew's scenes take place in a bar. Andrew's a fucking drunk in season 2, which was kind of a weird, like, you don't notice it because it's so spread out, but we noticed it because we shot all of the scenes in there, so you shoot them all at once. And and it was like, oh shit, there's like 20 scenes in here, or however many of Andrew's private space scenes there were. They were all in this weird bar because he had no home, because there was no room that we felt we could dress to be his room that didn't look like it was part of another set. So so we were just like, okay, well, what room can we use? Like, what's kind of semi-analogous? And we settled on the bar. And I thought it was hysterical. I was all in for this. And other people were like, I don't know. Does like Andrew have a problem? I think Elise was like, does Andrew have a problem now? I was like, I don't care. This is so stupid. And loved it. So it was not a perfect location. It was also, the people who own it were like there, which was weird, and apparently like Nazi sympathizers, which was weird. So we haven't come back. But it was an interesting location. How did you put together the team for Classic Alice? Oh my god. So the first book, right? We shot that by itself. Yeah, I mean, yes, Ben, poor Tony. The first book was like a pitch, it was just, do you guys like this? And we'll run a crowdfunder based on this, and we'll see. And the people for that one came from, I knew the director. He was a good friend of mine. That was Josh Compton. And we wanted to work together, and this came up, and he was like, cool, I want to work with this. So he was also on the first like chunk. The DP was a friend of Brendan Bradley's, actually, but I think I knew him through the web world. The DP's job on this was not super involved. It was kind of I don't know. It was a little bit unfair for the DP. It was not a thrilling job. The sound people, I think we just I think Josh went to USC's grad program for film, and so he knew a bunch of people who at the time had either just graduated or were almost graduating or something like that. So they were all kind of looking for, exposure work, just get out their work. So that's how we found them. Elise I knew through Kyle, actually. She was a friend of Kyle Walters, and I just liked her. And Tony was a friend of another friend who auditioned. He auditioned. I think that was, and then Gentry. Do you guys remember the RA who never appeared again because he like blew the fuck up? He is a friend of mine. So they were all just buddies. And then the next season we did casting calls and crewing up. I let the director do that as much as possible. Because like, I'll say, here's what we can spend on these people. But I let him try to do that because the working relationship that, or her, the working relationship that they have supersedes my like, oh, I want to work with this person. They need to get along. They need to have the same vision, especially when not for this project, for Classic Alice, it wasn't as big a deal, but for something with complicated, like The Long Dig, Tom really needed a DP that he could both lean on and a DP that had a vision that complemented his. So you want somebody that you can not only work together with, but who will also like bring something cool to the party. So, staffing up or crewing up is always a process. I try to, I will suggest people, everybody throws names out. And it's about finding the right match for that project. I hope that answers that question. If you guys have more questions about anything that I'm talking about, just leave them, like if you think of something. How How did you shoot classic Alice? All at once or a little at a time? And did it change? We shot the first book by itself. Then we shot season 1 all at once like a movie. And season 2 we shot all at once like a movie because it's much, much, much cheaper to shoot everything all at once, which meant that I wrote everything all at once, which meant that we were shooting 120 pages for season 2, I think, in 13 days, 10 days, something like that. Like bonkers amount of pages. Let me just make sure. Yes, there were Ed answered that. I think that's I'm not missing anything. Okay. Which of the classic Alice arcs did you personally like the best? I liked the Dracula arc because I knew that everybody would hate it. I like at least turned to me at one point and was like, "Do you hate? Are you worried that they're not gonna like this?" And I was like, I am, but I'm not. Like it's our last season, so I can kind of do whatever I want. It's not a big deal if I, alienate a whole bunch of people. But I think if you're alienating people, first of all, they care about it, right? If they have a strong reaction, they care. But it's also a challenge. I think that arc is challenging in a way that a lot of the other ones aren't. Like most of them are kind of, do they get together? No. Do they get together? No. Do they get together? No. Yes. Right. So that's like, we know that story. We know that story so much. I don't think we see stories about girls, especially fucking up on purpose. And I really like that. I really like that as a story. I like that as an actor. I really hated the I didn't hate the camera work in that, like, I love the DP. It's not that. I hated the restrictions that we had on the camera, because it was a person and because our characters knew a camera existed. That also actually added a layer of acting to everything that's tough. Like our characters knew the camera is there. So the characters know someone is watching them. So you're never going to see real honest emotion for the most part. Like, unless they think the camera isn't there anymore. But we can only do that trick so many times before you're like, Nathan's creepy. So you have the feelings, but we're also lying to you because you the audience, we don't want to share that with strangers. And I thought that challenge was more present in Dracula than anywhere else. And I thought Dracula was messier and dirtier than the other ones. And I enjoy playing messier and dirtier. It's harder for me. So I like it. So that was my favorite one. Despite what YouTube had to say. What parts of Alice's character are nearest to me and what are the least Kate like? It's been a long time since I played her. So she is, I think, a younger version of me. She's a me when a few years before kind of person. I'm very type A, but I don't think I'm quite as alienating. I think she's shyer, like more introverted than I am. It's been a long time since I played her though, so I'm kind of like, I don't remember anymore. What episode? Oh gosh, I should have looked this up. What episode are you proudest of as a writer and as an actor? So I kind of have to group because they're so short. They get grouped together as the book. As an actor, like I said, I think Dracula was the most complicated one because you're seeing someone lie to you, but we can't just like lie. So it was hard to do. And I was starting to say, like, I was frustrated by the camera movement in that because we couldn't get close enough, in scenes like that, in scenes with deep intimacy, you want the frame here. You don't want the frame in the other room. Like Nathan was literally outside the room for some shit, and like it. You don't want that. You want to be much closer. I as a viewer when I watched it, I was like, oh, punch in. So that was really frustrating. And then that was also when I realized everyone's watching it on their phones. So like all the minutia that Tony and I were doing in some scenes, I really loved the one. I don't remember what episode of where it is anymore, but I think it's in Silas Martyr, and I'm in this pale green dress, and we're just starting to like, okay, maybe we can be friends again. And there was such good acting in that, but it's the camera's so far away, and if you're watching it on your phone, like you won't see it. But in the moment, we were great, you guys. Trust me, we were spot on. Did Kate and Joe ever end up having sex? No, sorry, they broke up. Joe is just a buddy of mine. How did, if it did, Classic Alice change your life? So obviously it did. I found all of you guys. I think like 2 of you were like, nope, not Classic Alice. Thank you, Kay. Thank you. She's showing up all my teeny bopper fans. It did. I don't know that it like, you know, the Lizzie people, I think for those couple years, like complete transformation. They were flying all over the country and that kind of stuff. Classic Alice for me gave me more mobility. I could do more things. I could springboard, which was all it was supposed to be. It also, you know, gave me a little verified check mark on Twitter and a Wikipedia page, and like it's just stupid things that I can kind of turn into Los Angeles currency. Has there ever been a time when you doubt your choice to be a constant? Sorry, I didn't even finish the question. When you doubt your choice to be an actor? Yes, constantly, all the time, currently, right now. I'm like, what am I doing? Is this, I could be anything. I could be a lawyer. I could do anything. What am I doing? No, please don't edit my Wikipedia page, because I'm afraid if people edit it, they're going to be like, who the fuck is this? And take it down. So yeah, of course. And I think any artist or creative person is like, what am I doing? I think that's a very normal thing to worry about and wonder about. I don't know. I mean, everybody has to figure out how to quiet that voice on their own. But for me, it's mostly just ignoring it until it stops for a minute and then keep going. What are my goals for next year? Oh, Jesus. Find a new manager. Mine ghosted me. So find a new manager, which has been tricky because not like there's just not a lot out there for me right now. So they don't want to bring you on if they can't send you out. It's kind of a problem. What other goals? I would love to get this photo shoot thing underway, because I really love the idea of just doing iconic characters that are in my type wheelhouse, but that I wouldn't necessarily play, or you know, they've already been cast and shot. I just think it'd be really fun. Just doing things that are freeing like that. Like there's no pressure. It's just a photo shoot. Just playing a character that I, you know, pick. So that's definitely a big goal. I don't know how to make that happen any faster. I don't know how to attract more people anymore, but that's one. I would love to write something new, finish The Long Dig. Oh my God, it's so close. So finish The Long Dig, get that going to festivals and try to keep excited about it, that kind of stuff. Miss Scarlet from the Clue movie. Nice. Yeah, that would be fun. I can't post it yet. So I wrote this like thing and I was like, I can't post this yet. But I definitely want to open up suggestions for characters. Can you hear my dog snoring? Because it is loud. But I want to open up suggestions for characters to patrons and have you guys like maybe pick one of the 4 or 5 that I do. because I think that would be something fun for you. You can't hear? Oh man, she's she's very asleep. How do you get special skills to work to your advantage? So things like, accents, dance, blah, blah, blah. Which ones are more valuable and how do you decide what to hone? So my special skills are I play piano, not great, but enough to fake it. I sing like opera. I am a classically trained musical theater opera singer, which does not come up a lot in LA. Surprise. What else do I do? I play the violin. And then from there they start to get a little wonky. Like I'll just read them to you. I don't know why I didn't pull this up earlier. So these I'm pulling up my resume and I'm just going to read you what's on my list. So special skills, performance, soprano 1 and 2, classically trained, opera, musical theater, violin, fiddle, piano, accents. Sports and movement, USS swimmer, so all those strokes, advanced horseback riding, basic dance, bicycling, fun shit, photography, cooking, baking, archaeology, social media, I just listed all the social medias. I've worked on green screens, teleprompters. I have a driver's license and a valid passport. And then I list my local hires. So where I can work and they don't have to pay for me to travel. And so mostly that's like places I have family or whatever. So as far as those go, the rest of the question was, how do you get them? So I have been pretty much the big ones. So like horseback riding, swimming, singing, and all the instruments and archaeology I've been doing since I was a kid. So I guess dance, but my parents paid for it for a long time and now it's an expensive thing to keep up. But being able to drive is kind of a weird, like it's not, but having the driver's license, they say list it, so I list it. It's not really a skill. Some people can't drive though. If you can drive stick, that's something to list. So which ones do I keep up with now are the ones that are already really developed. So singing I keep up with, swimming, you don't forget how to swim, but swimming I keep up with, riding I obviously keep up with. I bought the piano to kind of keep up with that. I think if you've already got them, use them. If you don't and you're interested in something, go do it. Like the part of the special skills is also to show people like these are my interests outside of acting, which is nice because you don't want to just talk to somebody about. I should stick history on there. I forgot about that. Yeah, because you don't want to be a autonomous robot. Then what was the rest of this? This was a long question. How do they work to your advantage? I can do something that someone else can't. So if I can speak in a Southern accent and the role calls for a Southern accent and the other girl isn't as good, I will presumably get that role. The ones that are more valuable, it's going to change from person to person. It's going to be more valuable for a girl who's good at gymnastics to write that on her thing than it is for me. Like it doesn't matter what they are, I think, because it's not about catering your interests and skills to a job. It's about you being you, and when the right job happens, there it is. If, however, I guess there's a caveat for that. If you are Hispanic, learn Spanish is what they tell you. If you are Asian, learn whatever, if you're Korean, learn Korean. If you're whatever, learn a language if you're not white. If you are white, it doesn't matter so much. Like if I'm white, I'm never going to go out for a Hispanic role. Like a lot of commercials want you to be able to speak both, but I'm not going out for those. So I could learn Spanish. There's nothing wrong with it, but for my job, I don't necessarily need to. Then we have, how do you join the WGA? WGA has a weird system. I know this because my ex was in the WGA. So they have like it's like a point system and a tier system. So you write, I'm gonna get the numbers wrong, but you write if you write a script or you get a written by credit, you get a certain number of points and you can be in tier 1 of, you know what? I'm just gonna you can be in tier like 1 of the WGA, and that gets you, I don't think it gets you health insurance, but it gets you like trainee kind of benefits. And then you have to write a certain number. You have to get a credits. That's what they call them. You have to get a certain number of credit points for to put toward joining in like a certain amount of time. So if you are staffed on a show, you'll get in no problem. If you have one episode of something, you need to have another freelance episode like within a couple of months really quickly or something like that. So you have to like keep up with it. Learn Celtic. Probably not super useful. So that's how you join the WGA. It's like points based, and you have to be working on a union production, so a WGA production. So I haven't made any of my stuff union. Like it's SAG, but it's not WGA, which I don't even know how you do that. I guess I could look at it. I guess I could ask Bernie Sue, he would know. But yeah, so I could do that in the future, make my projects WGA and try to get it that way. Although I think now they've started to like lock down people basically doing that, making their own stuff. But getting staffed on a show is pretty much the easiest, fastest, not easiest, but clearest way to do it. Cool. So that is our hour, and I definitely spent it talking the whole time. Yikes. Do you guys have any last questions or anything? Just wait for a second. No. Okay. All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for all of your questions. They were really interesting. And I'm sorry I remember nothing about Classic Alice anymore. Bye.